Hi everybody, and thanks for joining me today. A little bit of background on this image. This was just shot in the client's backyard. So I didn't really, and I hadn't seen the backyard prior, so this is just, we worked with what we had. And in pretty much every image, this white fence is in the background. And for, one or two images, it doesn't really bug me, but for every single one, it's kind of driving me crazy. So for this, I just want to remove the backgrounds, blend it, make it look more like evening, the golden sun. It was almost golden hour, I believe. So there was some golden light. You just can't really see it because it's over top of the fence. So I want to just get rid of that. And this tutorial will help you if you're trying to remove something distracting in the background, if you're trying to kind of fake golden hour or add in more light, and just do simple retouches. So that's what this tutorial will be perfect for. Okay, so first I'm going to resize this image, but I want to make sure that I have my background, what I want to fill in. If there had been more to the image, like more grass on the side or something else, I could clone it or select it and kind of put it in the background, but there's nothing in this image that I want to put back there. So I selected this from, I believe it was pixabay.com, and I just liked the light and the grass. And I know that everything's a different color and it doesn't really work right. You might not be sure how it's going to look, but we can make this work. So here's my image. I'm going to go to image and image size. And my images come out of my camera fairly large, so I just want to make this about maybe 4,000 pixels wide. So just smaller, and then I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see it properly. Okay, and then we're going to drag our image that we want to use. Just drag it right over and put it down. Edit, free transform, and scale. And then I'm going to shift and left click and just make it as big as I want it to be. I'm going to stretch this a little. I want the sun to be a little more on this side because that's where it was. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to click OK to that. And I'm going to add a layer mask right here. This little square with the circle cut out is your layer mask. And it's on white, and now we need to select a soft round brush, 100% opacity on black. Okay, so now I'm just going to go around this and get rid of this edge and kind of paint it off of their heads as well. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna use my tablet so you guys don't hear click, 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 click every couple seconds. I know that gets to be annoying. Okay, so now that I softened that line, I'm gonna go up here to my opacity and lower it down to probably about 40-ish%. And just kind of soften it a little bit more. And then do the same at about 10 to 15%. Just kind of blend it even further. Okay, so I know this looks crazy right now, but we're going to click on our image, our added in image, And I want to come up here to filter, blur, and lens blur. And lens blur always seems to take a while. It might take a while to pop up, it might take a while to change the settings. I don't know why it's so slow, but it does. I'm going to leave the radius at 100% and I'm going to click OK. Now for your image, it might be different. Your lens might be different, but I used, I'm not 100% on the settings, but I believe it was 200 millimeters. It was between 135 and 200. So the compression, I think the background is pretty compressed. So I want my fake background to, I'm sorry, my throat must be getting a little irritated or something. But I want my background to be equally as blurred out as my natural background. And I just noticed that this line is still a little harsh. So I'm going to go back over it again. Kind of blend this out a little more. Okay. So that looks good to me for now. Let's see. I'm trying to look. Okay. So I want to click on this, their fake background layer. Go to filter, camera raw filter. And I just want to change these greens so that they sort of match the greens in our original background. So I want to bring the hue over, my saturation up a little bit, and my luminance up a little bit. And I probably will change my greens again after I flatten, but that just helps it to match a little bit better. So I am going to flatten the image now. So I just right click and flatten. Okay, so now I want to duplicate my background layer. So just grab that and drag it down. You can also right click and go to duplicate layer. You can also go up here to layer, duplicate layer. So just there are a million ways to do one thing. So if you know a different way, just go along with your way. You'll still end up with the same results. This is just the way that I do it, and I don't use shortcuts very often, so just know that about me. I don't use a lot of shortcuts. I prefer to use my mouse and the settings in Photoshop. Okay, so now I'm going to make sure my background copy is selected. Go up here to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. And my blur is set to let's see, we'll just type it in 25. Oh, that was 65. 25. 25, there we go. It can be, you can just play around with this slider to see what works best for you, but we're not worrying about our subjects, we're worrying about the backgrounds. So for me, around 25 is good. And then we're going to add another layer mask. We're going to make sure that the mask is selected, and we're going to click invert. Okay, so now we need a soft round brush set at 100% opacity, and we need this to be white. And now I'm just going to go around and blend in this blur. Okay, and now I want to lower my opacity to about 50%, and now I'm just going to blur in my background some more. And if you get this on your subjects, just don't worry, we can always paint that off. And this kind of just helps to soften that line a little bit more. You see, it helps to blend everything together. And I'm going to flatten this again because I like that just the way that it is. Let me see. Okay, so now I think I want to go down here to my adjustment layers and add a gradient. I'm going to click here I'm going to select radial. And I actually like this color, but if you want to change the color of the gradient, you can either use your color picker and just pick a color. So if I want to use this color, I just select it. Let's see. And that will be the color that it's going to be. And I just want to move this up to right there and click OK. And now I want to change this. Right here, I want to change my blend modes to soft light. There we go. And you can't really see a huge difference, but it does give you an additional light. Okay, and I want to do the same thing again, another adjustment layer, gradient. This time I want it to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to click here. You select this box, and then you select here, and then you select your color. And I want this one to be a warm orange. Click OK, and the light works for me. Now we do need to change this to radial. We do need to bring it up here. And select OK. And I'm going to play around with the blend modes on this. We have multiply. That's really pretty. It's debating whether or not to use that one. I didn't use it in my original edit, but I might use it here. You can use overlay. Just gives you an orange feel. Lighten. Makes it brighter. So you can kind of just play around with these. Screen makes it lighter as well. I personally like the multiply. I like that. It looks very warm, like a very warm image. And I do want to lower the opacity to that. That's a bit much. But that is perfect. Maybe even 50%. Okay, so I like that. I do, however, want to select my brush 100% on black. Just go up here and make sure that that's not on his face, either of these. Okay, the hair is fine because that kind of gives it a backlit feel. I'm going to flatten this, but I don't want it on their faces. Okay, so I am going to warm up the image a little bit overall. I'm going to go to my adjustment layers and curves and select red, bump it up a teeny bit, select blue, and bring it down. And that just warms up our image. I'm going to lower the opacity of that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to flatten that. So I left that around 20 to 30%. Now I want to do another curves adjustment and just bump this up. Click on the adjustment layer and select invert. Now I need to make sure that my brush is white. These little arrows kind of toggle back and forth between white and black. I need a white brush. 100%, and I'm just going to paint this over them. Sorry about that. Kind of just brightens them up a little. Okay, and now I want to do the same thing again. Curves, bump this up, click and invert, I'm going to lower my brush size and paint this on their eyes, kind of like around their eyes, to just brighten those eyes up. Okay, I'm going to flatten that. And you don't have to flatten every step of the way. A lot of people don't because they like to go back and change certain things. I flatten because I usually know what I want to do with the image prior. So I usually don't go back. And if I do think I'm going to go back, I'll leave it open for a little while, but I kind of just flatten as I go along. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate my background layer again, and I want to come up here to Filter, Sharpen, and just select Sharpen. Now let's see if that did. Okay, that didn't do exactly what I wanted it to do, so now I'm going to come back up here again to Filter, Sharpen, Smart Sharpen. Okay, so yes, this allows you to customize the amount of sharpen. That's a lot of sharpening. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. Okay, and that did add a little bit of sharpen to my image, so I'm going to select my mask and invert that. And now I'm just going to paint that on their eyes. I don't want their eyes to be too sharp, but I do want it to help a little. So it might be hard to tell from the video, but it did bring out their eyes. Okay, and now I'm going to come over here to where it says sponge. Mine says sponge, but if you right click that, I want to select dodge. Bring this down a little bit and just dodge a little in their eyes. Okay, that just brings them out a little bit further. And I actually want to make my image larger, and I'm going to go to my clone stamp tool, reduce the size, and bring the opacity way down. And I'm going to select by Alt, left click, under their eyes, and I just want to tap this on. I want to reduce the amount of lines, darkness that's under their eyes. Just brighten it up a little. You have to be careful when you get close to the edge because you'll get that line from the side of their face and it will be on their eye. So that kind of doesn't. Okay, I want to give you their eyes. So that's before and that's after we didn't take away anything from their faces. We just softened up their eyes a little bit. Okay. So now I'm still not quite happy with the way my line is right across here. It still seems a little harsh for me. So I do want to come up here and adjust my colors. So filter, camera raw filter, and I do want to adjust these greens. So I'm going to go to my HSL adjustments and I'm going to darken these greens a little. Change my saturation and my hue. Okay, so that looks good. Click OK. So that to me is a little bit better, but I still think that I want to add something else here. So I'm going to go back here select my gradients, and I want to do a reflected gradient, which just goes straight across the middle, and it has the same amount of gradient on the top and the bottom. That's the difference. The linear gradient has a thick line across one side and then it fades, but this one has thick solid color in the middle, and then it has a gradient on both sides. So I'm going to do that, and I want to select some kind of color that I'm okay with. Let's see, maybe an orange. Okay, so I mean that looks okay. I'm gonna click OK, and then for my lighter ends, I don't want them to be so light either. Okay, now I'm gonna click OK. Okay, and I want to move this right to where my line is. I'm gonna select OK. Come over here to my opacity and just bring that down. And here, and I want to paint that off of them, so I need my black brush, add 100%, actually more like 50%. I can always go back over a couple times, but I want to paint that off of them. I just want to keep it on that harsh line. Across the middle, just because I can still tell that it was blended from two different backgrounds, and I don't want to. Okay, so now let's take a look at that. Off and on. I think that looks perfect. It definitely helps smooth out that harsh line. And it looks like they are in a field. So I like that a lot. Going to flatten. I want to add some more light to their faces. I'm going to go up here and bring up the curves, and then click and invert. Change my color back to white. Back up to 100%. And just paint that on. Okay, I normally do all of my cropping in the very beginning, but I might want to crop this image just a little bit so that I feel like they are more in the center. I know there's things that usually bug me. I know there's a rug off to this side and her legs are off to this side, so it's not perfectly symmetrical, but I do kind of want to make it a little more centered. So that looks a lot better to me. Okay, so what else are we gonna do to this image? Oh, okay. Go back here to my adjustments, select another gradient, select here to radial, and I want to reverse that. Select my color, select my color box here, and I want this to be a little darker. Select OK, OK, and bring this down. It doesn't give you much, but it does give you a little bit of vignette. I'm not a fan of the thick, dark vignette corners like that. That style it has its place, but for me that place is, I don't know, in the 80s maybe. So for this I just wanted to add a little bit more warmth around our edges. I do want to go back in and make sure that's painted off of my subjects. So if your mask is white, then your brush needs to be black again. If you're having a hard time following along, a lot of these steps are the same. I've used a lot of gradients, I've used a lot of curves and adjustment layers. Pretty much everything is in these two, and it's just toggling back and forth between a white and a black brush. So that's pretty much all I've been doing. I could add a sun ray, but I think we're good. I think we're good with that without it. Okay, so this is the way that I want to leave my image, and I'll take a snapshot so you can see my before and after. So here's our before. Oh, that's kind of large. Here's our before, and here's our after. So nice warm light, a little bit of a different background, and there's your fence. So I hope that has helped you in some way. If you would like any of the tutorials in particular, please just let me know. If you have any questions about this tutorial, also just let me know and I'd be more than happy to clarify anything. But I guess that's it for me, guys. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.